Right now, you're probably wearing shoes, and you've probably never once stopped to think, why? I mean, really, why do we cover our feet? When did this start? And what did the very first humans, people just like you and me, wrap around their feet before Nike existed? Before leather? Before civilization? Here's what blew my mind when I went down this rabbit hole. The story of human footwear is not just about shoes. It's about survival. It's about status. It's about empire. It's about one of the most basic decisions a human being ever made, and how that one tiny decision changed history. And the craziest part, we almost got it all wrong. Scientists thought for decades that ancient humans went barefoot for most of prehistory. Turns out they had no idea. So buckle up, because today, we're going all the way back. 150,000 years, before pharaohs, before Rome, before agriculture. We're going to answer the question, what did ancient people actually wear on their feet? Let's start by destroying a myth. If you picture a caveman, and honestly, be honest with yourself, you probably picture someone grunting around on bare, calloused feet. No shoes, no sandals. Just raw foot on raw earth. Hollywood loves this image. Museums used to love this image. But here's the thing. It's wrong. Almost certainly, completely wrong. Here's why scientists used to think ancient humans went barefoot for most of our evolutionary history. Footwear decays. Leather rots, plant fibers dissolve, grass breaks down. So for a long time, there was almost zero physical evidence of early footwear. And when you can't find something, it's easy to assume it never existed. But bones don't lie. In 2005, a physical anthropologist named Eric Trinkus at Washington University in St. Louis published a fascinating study. He looked at the toe bones of ancient humans, specifically the smaller toes, and noticed something strange. In skeletons from around 26,000 to 30,000 years ago, the small toes had gotten weaker. Not because ancient people were lazy, but because they were wearing shoes. When you wear supportive footwear, your small toes do less gripping work. They weaken over time, across generations. It's the same reason people who always wear shoes have weaker arches than those who go barefoot. Trinkus argued that this bone evidence pointed to one undeniable conclusion. Modern humans in Western Eurasia had been regularly wearing some form of supportive footwear for at least 26,000 to 30,000 years. And he went further. He suggested that in colder climates, humans in northern regions may have started insulating their feet as far back as 500,000 years ago, 500,000 years. Let that sink in for a second, but it gets even more mind-bending than that. Because in 2023, a team of researchers in South Africa found something at a place called Kleinkrans on the Cape Coast that may push the entire timeline of human footwear back to 148,000 years ago. They found ancient fossilized footprints pressed into hardened rock, prints with one very unusual feature: no toe marks. When a barefoot human walks on wet sand, the toes leave clear impressions. But these prints had crisp, smooth edges at the front, rounded, clean, like something was covering the toes. The researchers ran experiments. They made their own footprints, first barefoot, then wearing sandals similar to ones used historically by the indigenous sand people of southern Africa. The result? The sandal prints looked exactly like the ancient ones. Crisp edges, no toe marks, even tiny indentations where leather straps would have pressed into the sand. We may have been wearing shoes for 150,000 years. And here's what that tells us: something profound about who we are as a species. Because making footwear, even a simple sandal, requires planning. It requires understanding materials. It requires craft. At 150,000 years ago, our ancestors weren't just surviving, they were problem solving. So what were the actual first shoes? The honest answer is, we'll probably never know for certain, because organic materials decompose. But we do have some incredible archaeological finds that give us a real window into our ancestors' ingenuity. Let's start in America. Specifically, the American Pacific Northwest. In a place called Fort Rock Cave in Oregon, archaeologists discovered a pair of sandals that have been dated to approximately 10,400 years old. These weren't shoes as we think of them. They were woven from sagebrush bark, hand-twisted, interlaced strips of plant fiber, shaped to fit a human foot. Think about that for a second. Someone, 10,000 years ago, in what is now the state of Oregon, sat down, gathered sagebrush, stripped it, twisted it, and wove themselves a pair of sandals. That's not primitive, that's engineering. These are currently the oldest directly dated sandals ever found. They're now on display at the University of Oregon's Museum of Natural and Cultural History, and they look remarkably similar in design to Native American footwear that was still being made hundreds of years ago. Similar technology, thousands of years apart. That's how good the design was. But the oldest leather shoe? That story takes us to a different continent entirely. Similar technology, thousands of years apart. That's how good the design was. But the oldest leather shoe? That story takes us to a different continent entirely. In 2008, archaeologists were excavating a cave in southern Armenia, a cave called Armenian in the Vyots Zor province. This cave had already made headlines. It's also home to the world's oldest known winery. Yes, ancient people were making wine there over 6,000 years ago. They had priorities, but tucked into a pit inside the cave, similar technology, thousands of years apart. That's how good the design was. But the oldest leather shoe? A shoe, one single shoe, made of cowhide, shaped to a right foot, still laced up and stuffed with grass. Researchers dated it, and it came back at somewhere between 5,637 and 5,387 years old, about 5,500 years ago, in the Copper Age. The lead archaeologist, Ron Pinhasi from University College Cork, described it as an almost miraculous find. They normally find broken pots, maybe some bones, but an intact shoe preserved by the cool, dry conditions of the cave, with its laces still in place, that kind of find only happens once in a career. And here's what makes it so fascinating.
Before moving forward in the video, if you also want videos like mine, you'll find an email above. Simply send an email there with details about what type of video you need and your requirements. We can create your video at a very good price. And also don't forget to subscribe. Now let's continue with the video. Sorry to say, but the rest of the audio voiceover got corrupted, so I can't upload the remaining part of the video. But I'll try to release part 2 soon. Make sure to subscribe.